Hello, this is Mark Beech. Welcome to my video of a year in journalism for 2017. Some highlights as they appear to me right now anyway. Among my TV and radio appearances was this one on BBC World to discuss the sad death of Malcolm Young of AC/DC, who I had met along with members of the band backstage. A happier moment was interviewing the two stars of Bat Out of Hell the musical, Andrew Polek Strat and Christina Bennington as Raven, both talented, young, and here I am backstage at the British Summertime Hyde Park interviewing the new power generation about their music, Prince, and his legacy that they're determined to carry on. With the wonderful aspiring star Caroline England, great singer-songwriter, the Riding House Cafe. Watch out for her new album when that comes together, and of course Alice Cooper, who as this is taken just before I spoke to him at the Andaz Hotel Temple about this comeback album, and Marilyn Perry, who I've known for quite some time, a very gifted historian and visual artist, for a piece for Dante magazine. These two guys are the Mutty Muse brothers, who are friends of many Hollywood stars, did a very revealing piece with me for Dante on the Hollywood star system and the aging stars. And I spoke to Alfie Boe and also Michael Ball on their Duets album, which has been a hit again this year. That was for Forbes and elsewhere, and Fergal Sharkey, shown here, of the Undertones, are now an industry star in his own right, and salute music makers, his talent contest. And we're on to the various covers of Dante magazine we're showing here. It's changed a bit down the years as it's evolved from what it originally had. We started 2017 with a pointed question asking what the result of the EU referendum would be in the UK. Could it result Brexit be followed by BRECU, the breakup of the European Union? That can be argued both ways, and certainly was in the piece. We've had a number of these covers which have been done for us by famous artists as George Matthews and Macho de Vergato, with Miss Tunisia cover, and also had a look at the Malambo dance, which is coming up in just a minute. So we've had a number of interesting commissioned covers that have come on through, and we thank all the artists for their help in putting these together. Some of them have been quite eye-catching. We've had three particularly great ones in a row. This was Belinda Wilson with an incredible selfie as she takes, which grates the green issue, and then the luxury issue which followed on from that this autumn, covered luxury and opulence with that crown and various other images rolled into that one. And then our most recent cover is the Christmas and New Year with the monk in St. Peter's and the poodles. There's a whole story behind that which we'll be telling in the course of time as well, because it's quite interesting how that cover was shot. But anyway, more on that later. Dante is available in many places. You'll find large W.H. Smiths in airport lounges, independent news agents, on phone app, so it's quite widely available, as well as London clubs. That's airport lounges we can see right now, one of the many that's there. And we're hoping that people will also like what they see and subscribe via our website, which is www.dantemag.com, where you go into the PayPal link there and subscribe to the print one or to the digital one for a year, depending on how you feel. The magazine has been redesigned a little. This is a new, cleaner look that we have now. I'm just showing these particular pages here because this was the first article we did using the new system. A nice piece on the guy who wrote the biggest hit of the year, done by our colleague Suzanne out of New York. And then some of my own stuff. This is Our Last Tango film review, again by me, and also then I go to the Fairport Convention reunion concerts and use this as a springboard into a piece on 50-year bands. There have been many 60s bands now celebrating this particular significant anniversary. In addition to that, then coming slightly more up to date, we have some stuff on Taylor Swift. Now, Pink Floyd, I was one of the first to report on a possible Glastonbury reunion of Pink Floyd, and those are some pictures there from the V&A show, which their mortal remains, which led into it. Steve Van Zandt and Paul McCartney met up at the Roundhouse, and I was one of the first to report on that. As it happens for Forbes, I knew something was going to happen, but I didn't realise it was going to be quite that. And there's U2 at Twickenham, which was another highlight, which was written up for Art Info and elsewhere. And then, of course, following on from U2, various other concerts. The Brixton Academy had Blondie with a Pollinator tour, and over at the Royal Albert Hall, then we had Kraftwerk with an amazing show. Not the first time they've done that. I've seen them do something similar at the Tate Modern. Also at the Royal Albert Hall. I've seen him a few times now. Adamant, who I pretty much count as a friend, I've interviewed him a few times now. And then following on from that, we have the Glamshanks, who I also spoke to, his support band. Be interesting to see how they develop. And Chris Holmes here at the Underworld in Camden. Actually, that gig happened the same night as the Alice Cooper interview. A few pictures just at random of the Roxy book by my long-term friends Andrew and Susan, who've been working on this for quite a while. We met up for lunch, or pretended to rather more than the lunch, at the Wolseley. There's Andrew and Susan together there, having a good time, me with Susan afterwards, before we went on to the Ground Show, or some such as one does, I think. And then afterwards, then a plaque was later unveiled at the venue of the former Roxy Club in Covent Garden. Those are some of the luminaries who turned up for that, and I joined in with that with great pleasure. Looking back on those punk years, as people know, I'm into my cars. That's a bottoms piece there on Ferrari. I'd done quite a few bits for all the magazines and stuff that I work for, and that's a classic car rally being shown there, with one of my cars in the start position in the lead for that. I'm also a bit of a wine buff, and always have been, advising London clubs as I can on wine and stuff, and I was particularly pleased to go along to one tasting, which I picture there. It's a rather nice 1928 Anjou, which was really rather splendid having that, I must say. And just as an example of my labours, that's a piece I wrote for Blue magazines on Burgundy versus Bordeaux, which is the interesting auction debate, which has been continuing for quite a long time, really. And we'll see how it goes. So we're moving on to various random pictures. Carnaby Street, and here we are. We've got some of this is a view from the top of the National Portrait Gallery, looking south towards Trafalgar Square. These are just some random pictures I just put in just for a break from everything else, just to show there is another side to life, which can be shown here with Donington, my farm, and a great source of joy, being able to get out of town sometimes and enjoy a bit of country air. And then moving on to that, a tour of the south coast, which included seeing Paul McCartney's windmill studio right down near Hastings, and then another just picture of Oxford Street lights, which came out quite well, in fact. And just one of many pictures I take, and as people know, I do take a lot of pictures during the year. This was just a random Soho picture of an advertising hoarding with a guy sitting down having his lunch or something underneath it. It's quite amusing. Some of my friends with book launches, this is Donald Trelford launching his autobiography. Actually, that's in the crowd show yet again, where I seem to live some of the time. And then moving on from that, then we've got a photographer, Jerome Ferrier, with his book on Ibiza Rocks, which was full of wonderful style pictures. And Robert Cole, who I've known for a little while, who was turned poet and produced an exceptional volume called London Poems, which were reviewed in Dante. And of course Howard Jacobson with this amazing novella Pussy, which may or may not be about someone who's rather like President Trump. And on to other things is Christina Smith with her 83rd birthday, good friend of mine, cutting the cake provided by the Covent Garden Association. And this is the Baddeley cake, more cake in fact, a theatrical charity at the beginning of the year, organised by Nick Bromley, the theatre director. I do write quite a lot about the art market. That is a bacon which failed to sell earlier on in the year, and it was followed fairly promptly by one which did sell and is reputed to be the last Leonardo da Vinci in private hands, although there is some debate over that. I was the first to report on both of those pretty much. By contrast, here's me buying a Tory Lawrence picture of a sheep, which costs rather less, I hasten to add, than the Leonardo da Vinci, so-called, in any event. And some pictures of one of the byline pages of the magazines with a bit of my credentials or something. And also on the subject of visual art, here we are, Belinda Wilson's private view of her works, which partly resulted in the Dante cover. I've been editing and writing about Frieze for years, the London Art Fair, one of the biggest. That's just a random still from that, but it did rather inspire the finding of some of my old pictures. These are from my Ruskin days, Oxford, a long time ago, two still life pictures which came to light, as people seem to quite like in the year. And it's rather suggested that I do another show at some stage or another, which may or may not happen, although that's more likely to contain paintings such as this one. This is a tree painting based on a photograph but heavily worked on. It's a fairly large picture of about 6 feet or so. Emma Stay Starling is a good friend of mine and has been a long time talking about artists. This was her show, Girl on Fire, down on the south coast, and should make it across to New York at some stage or another. I subsequently went on to write a biography piece for her for Dante magazine, which is there. That following it, actually, this picture here is just a random picture in the gallery down in Hastings, which followed up on from that show. And on the same amusing theme, it's rather a random picture, be it the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre going to see Jesus Christ Superstar, which I've reviewed now a couple of times, London Fashion Week, which I usually conspire to go to each year and write up for one or another publication. Always enjoy that. And then just something rather different, me at the Kitchener Scholar Memorial of Remembrance Sunday, looking a bit respectable for once, so it can be done. And thank you for everyone for watching this. This is Ted, the brains of the operation, as ever saying. Merry Christmas was out of it, Happy New Year, see you next year, thank you, and bye.